The first time in 5 years, the central bank has shifted gears, cutting its benchmark interest rate by 50 basis points to 27%. It's a move that signals a cautiously optimistic turn in monetary policy, suggesting the CBN believes maybe the worst of inflation may be behind us and that it's time to provide breathing room for the economy. The decision follows a period of bold structural reforms, from subsidy removal to FX unification, and comes at a time when Nigeria's fiscal revenues are improving, yet borrowing costs remain high. Is this rate cut the first in a series, or a one-off adjustment in a still uncertain environment? Joining me now to unpack this and much more is none other than Mr. Bismarck Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company and one of Nigeria's most respected economic thinkers. Great to have you on the show with us today.
Thank you. Good morning.
You know, we were talking about the title of your report at FDC,
Yes.
Turning Point.
Yes.
And you mentioned the fact that the president mentioned that Nigeria had turned a corner, but you call it a turning point. Why?
No, I listened to the president yesterday in Ibadan, and he said Nigeria has turned the corner. Right? But my headline is turning the corner.
Okay.
If you have turned the corner, means the finish line is there.
Okay.
Turning the corner means the process is there, but you have not turned the corner yet. So anything can happen between when you're turning the corner and when you've turned the corner. So I think it's quite clear that work has been done, and the economy has suffered over the past 10, 12 years, suffered significantly for a number of reasons. One is the fact that there have been distortions to the structure of the economy, and people begin to spend a lot of emphasis on indicators rather than the economic structure.
Sure.
Inflation, exchange rate, reserves, and all of that. Those are indicators. But the structure of the economy, particularly at the end of the day, is there growth and output. And you can go historically and look at it from way back in the Second World War to where we are today. It's all about growth. And then after growth comes happiness.
Yeah.
So, so it is true that Nigeria is turning the corner. It is true that if you turn the corner correctly and you've turned it, then you can finish first. But you remember in a relay, you are in track 1 and track 2, track 3. The person in track 1 is always behind, and the person in track 7 is always ahead. And that gives you the advantage. When you're turning a corner in a 200 meters, then you get to the point. You might be leading initially because you are in front, but once you turn the corner, you find that the man who was ahead of everybody else falls behind, and the man at the back comes clear. So that's the discussion.
So now we've had this 50 basis points cut. What must follow now in order for this to be impactful? What must follow?
Let's look at it. What does the 50 basis point cut mean? You have to understand what the gross domestic product is, and you have to understand what they call the national, the circular flow of income. So at times we mix the two, and let us simplify it so that the audience can understand. The GDP, right, means that the total output of goods and services in the country is $250 or $256 billion. Inside of the GDP, there are many components. There are 4 major components. One is net exports. The other one is government consumption. The other one is private consumption and households, which is you and I. There are 35 million households with an average of 4 people in each household, meaning about 200 million, more or less. And these households do 2 things. They earn money and they spend money. In other words, when you earn money, you use it either for consumption or savings. But when interest rates are high, you spend less and save more. So what the central bank has done is say, okay, we've reduced the interest rates so that we expect you, for that purpose, to consume more and spend more. And if they are spending more, you and I are spending more, then flour mills of Nigeria will have to produce more flour. Dangote will produce more petroleum products and cement, and therefore economic activity. So I want you to understand it, and viewers to understand that this is what that means. Also, one component of the GDP is government. The government borrows, right, to spend on the people. If the government is paying higher interest rates it has less to spend on the people, and the people are kind of constrained in whatever they're doing. So what does the 50 basis point cut mean for government debt service? It reduces government debt service by about almost 700 billion naira, right, in a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So the government will have that money, the fiscal authority to have that money to spend on the people. Also, the people who had saved money, knowing that, okay, they're getting 16, 17%, 18% on treasury bills, will probably save less and spend more. Okay, and that helps to bring the economy out of. So that's the thing. It's not a one-off thing, but it was not just the interest rate cut that happened.
Yeah.
There was also the asymmetric corridor that was narrowed.
Yes.
There was also the fact that it reduced the cash reserve ratio from commercial banks from 50 to 45. But then they introduced another thing there, which was the non-TSA payments, which has 75% cash reserve ratio. That was a very smart move, right? Because today, the state governments, the federal government, we know that we share 2.2 trillion naira every month, or 2.4 trillion naira. The federal government, all federal government agencies have TSA account. That means their accounts are with the Central Bank of Nigeria. But none of the state governments are complying with the TSA rules. So they don't have any. So the money comes in, the state government gets it, they put it in bank XYZ, right? They get brokerage on it, right? And the money is not doing anything. So what the Central Bank has done is say, oh, no. Whatever you collect, any bank, let us say Lagos State Government, or Edo State Government, or Kano State Government, whatever you collect, 75% of it is trapped. We, the Central Bank, will take it, right? And guess what? The total amount of state and local government money that goes into the banking system is about 1.5 trillion. If you take 75% of that, it comes to about almost 750 billion naira.
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, Bank XYZ or Goldman Bank, right? When you get the money, within 24 hours, the Central Bank will grab it from you. So you will have no choice but to now open a TSA account. But under the Constitution, nobody allows that. So I think that's the first thing. So these are very interesting moves, but there are lags between when you identify a problem
and
when you take action. There are lags between you take action and when the impact is felt. And there is also another lag between when the impact is felt and when people believe that it's going to be sustainable.
Well, so I was going to ask you this because the idea you painted a fantastic picture of how this actually puts a bit more money in the consumer's pocket.
Yes.
But we know that economics is part psychology.
Yes.
People have to truly believe that prices have come down. If you're a producer and you put price on bread or meat, you have to believe that costs in your value chain will come down before you reprice for consumers if you want to reprice. So maybe talk us through that. And then lay on that, is there a safe inflation zone from where a rate cut then becomes counterproductive? Because we're not out of the woods completely with regards to inflation, and we still have another MPC sitting. I'm hearing 100 basis points, and I'm like, do we really have that much room for maneuver? We don't even know what the effect of this is. So
I think, again, we seem to look at indicators rather than structure.
Yeah.
The most important thing here is that there's a difference between disinflation and deflation.
Right.
Disinflation means slower inflation, that instead of having inflation of 10%, you now have inflation of 9% or 8%. Deflation means that the price of goods have actually come down to a point lower than your cost. Therefore, a man sells whatever it is. I imported rice at 100 naira. The going price of rice is already 50 naira. I have to sell at 50 naira and lose everything and go away, right? So we do not like, deflation is not good for an economy because that's the beginning of a slump.
Yes.
Right? But disinflation is good in the sense that inflation begins to slow down.
Yeah.
But then let's look at our Nigerian inflation. Technically, there are 4 or 5 factors that are driving inflation. First and foremost is the exchange rate.
Yes.
And so you ask yourself, is a naira going to appreciate to a point where where it can actually bring down prices generally, depending on how much import content it is? If the view is that the Naira has strengthened and is going to stay that way, then you have something going. So then the second one is the price of petroleum products. The third, of course, is money supply and aggregate demand. And fourthly are just logistics costs and other things. Now, the big thing is that you and I, everybody asked the question. I was coming in here and somebody asked me, is our Naira ever going to get back to 1,000? And that's Joe Blogs. Somebody just stopped me at the entrance of this TV station. The reality is that what is an exchange rate? And is an exchange rate misaligned or aligned, right? The Naira was 480 about 2 years ago, right? Parallel market.
Yeah.
But you couldn't even find it, right? And if you found it, then you're lucky. And some people took it and sold it back in. Now, it went all the way to 1,900. So what happened was the market was sanitized, central bank put all sorts of things in place, and it came back to, it started at 1,900 and it has come back to 1,500 right now. Now the question is, can it stay at 1,500, and if so, how long will it stay? So let's question that completely. What are the things that go into the foreign exchange market? 1, oil sales. 2, LNG sales. 3, cocoa. Then soybean, fertilizer sales. Things that we're exporting. Yeah. Then we also have inflows, right? Foreign portfolio investment, foreign remittances, footballers, doctors, and all that. So when you look at it, technically speaking, and we did the PPP analysis where we take the price of a basket of goods, and it comes out at 1,150.
Okay.
Right? So it is actually 25% undervalued. Where it was trading, it was still 1,150 to a dollar when the market was at 1,900. Therefore, the market was Naira was grossly undervalued.
Yeah.
So when people started seeing that, okay, the dollars, when I want it, I'll get it, right? And there's no Aboki effects and all this rubbish that is taking place, we now started seeing the currency moving closer to its PPP. So ordinarily speaking, if it was a Ghanaian cedi or Sierra Leonean leone or something, you would see that a frontier currency has about 25% illicit factor. So let us say it's 1,150, 25% of that is 250. So it's about 1,400.
So essentially what you're saying is the Naira still has room to appreciate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as there's no disruption.
Okay. So this is where I was going to come to, because when you gave the analogy of the sort of 200-meter stretch, turning the point, what is the risk that the baton will be dropped? And the baton may be dropped by an external factor.
Yes.
Are we well insulated now that we're on this home stretch? And what should we be looking out for?
We are not insulated.
Okay.
In fact, we are vulnerable.
Okay.
But the point is that we have a safe pair of hands, right?
Yes.
The central bank is being tightly managed, and is not in a hurry to do anything stupid.
Sure.
Right? So I think that is the truth. But Central Bank of Nigeria, neither the Nigerian federal government has no control over the price of oil.
Indeed.
Right? So if the price of oil drops from $69, which it is today, to $60 a barrel, we will struggle. But we won't struggle as much as we used to struggle when we had, our buffers were low. So that is one.
Absolutely.
2, the confidence of investors, that we have foreign portfolio investors who have come in and have put money in here, in all about almost 13 or 14 billion dollars. Let's knock off about 3 of that, because some of them are some sweetheart deals that are there. But the problem is that Nigeria has some obligations. We have $1 billion, which is due in a month, this next month, and another 1 billion euros due the following month. So Nigeria is going to the market to raise money to refinance those, and also to put some buffers in place for the future.
Yeah.
I think that 2 things. One is that inflation begins to moderate in Nigeria from its current maybe 21, depending on what methodology you're using, maybe to about 18 in December. And that, I think that also the Naira will stay at current levels, 1,500, probably appreciate a little bit to 1,400 and stay there. That Nigeria will raise $4 billion or more, pay off the 2 billion euros that are there, and have buffers to withstand whatever shocks that are going to take place. However, you said what could happen? Could we drop the button? Yes, we could drop the button, but again, you know.
Yeah, it's always Interestingly, I mean, with the borrowing, certainly global rate environment may be more favorable now for Nigeria.
Yes, to refinance it.
If you look at dollar debt, for instance, in the U.S. and also the repricing there. But you know, I want to ask you about. We've always had this fiscal dominance in Nigeria. It's a recurring problem with you touched on the debt story. Our debt stock is still enormous, and we have seen some of these global conditions. You know, what is the stance now between the CBN on the monetary policy side and the rest of the economic policy makers insofar as CBN has its course, it's been very laser focused on this.
Yeah.
What should be the posture on the fiscal side right now in terms of ensuring alignment with that strategy?
I think first and foremost, the goals, alignment of goals and alignment of strategy to implement it are two different things.
Yeah.
The goals have to be very clear. That we want to achieve accelerated growth. We want to reduce our vulnerability to exogenous shocks. We want to ensure that the distribution of income and welfare is spread across the country. And we want to optimize the use of our resources. I think when those goals are clear, then you will find who are the fiscal authorities, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Investment and Trade, and what do they want to do? They want to maximize growth. But at the same time, they want to maximize revenue. And there's this confusion as revenue and growth. They're two different things. You can have a massive revenue and slow growth, which is what you don't want.
Yes.
So, and then there's a political cycle and a fiscal cycle. So the political cycle means that you must, by the first quarter or the last quarter of this year, which is we are going into, there must be an alignment between your political goals and your economic goals.
Just so we're clear on the political cycle, are you talking about the coming elections and the risk that might undermine some of the policy trajectory?
Absolutely, yeah, because you are having a few trillion naira, right, which you have to spend. And when you have that high-powered money coming into the system, it could now trigger inflation.
Yeah, you talked about money supply being one of the drivers.
But within the money supply, there's what we call high-powered money.
Yes.
So, and when you have that kind of money, all these transfers and all, which may not be getting to the people. We hear about it, but you don't see it, you don't feel it, right? So the risk of high-powered money scuttling this trend that we're seeing, this smooth trend of turning the corner, right? And you're trying to accelerate it so that you get ahead of the pack to achieve the goals. So I think that is the big risk. How does the fiscal restraint, right? So that it doesn't undermine the goals and the achievements of the central bank in terms of currency stability, inflation moderation, and confidence.
Yeah, very, very good point. And I'm wondering, given that these elections are on the horizon and we see what is happening, are there any specific safeguards that can actually be put in place? Because it feels like many Nigerians feel like, okay, for once, at least those who watch policies, we're finally able to breathe. But if we have elections in 18 months' time, is there anything the government can currently do to ensure that that alignment between fiscal and monetary is not just in principle, but is somehow in law? Do we need to go back and look at some of our fiscal prudence acts, some of the things that guide fiscal responsibility, that guide the way fiscal policy is dispensed?
Unfortunately, the world itself has become very transactional and less rational. So, you have the rational expectation philosophy in economics. Rational expectation assumes that things are normal. Political and elections in third world countries are not rational incidents. And therefore, you cannot ask, Turkeys don't vote for Christmas. There's no way that you can ask the political leaders to restrain people because you want to achieve economic goals when the major goal is the political objective.
Okay, so they can't, that way. Yeah. Well, I get that point.
And therefore, let us deal with the reality. If you were in charge of the government of Nigeria and you are contesting an election, you are not going to make things easier for the opposition. No. Your goal is to ensure that you succeed, and the goal of the opposition is to ensure that you do not succeed.
Yeah. So,
right?
I mean, yes, but you also wouldn't sacrifice your macroeconomic stability, your fiscal stability. But anyway, I guess these are trade-offs and decisions that need to be made.
No, there are timelines. You can say, okay, I will take some short-term decisions, which will create some inflation, but then once I get in, then I can now...
Okay, interesting. I mean, we can leave that strategy for Asovila, but final word here is really for Nigerians, because I still see a misalignment between maybe the political and economic class, the elites, and the ordinary Nigerian on the streets. You know, a lot of the economic lingo we use in the studio, we talk about inflation slowing. In reality, on the ground, what is that time lag for when the pockets of consumers will start to feel a bit more robust?
You ask a very interesting question, and economists have discussed this from Milton Friedman all the way to Arthur Leffer.
Would it be an additional rate cut, for instance?
Well, no. You see, what is the rate cut supposed to achieve? What's your short-term goal?
Yeah.
Do you want to reduce savings, right, and increase consumption? And do you want to increase consumption and also at the same time think that you can reduce inflation?
Yes.
You can't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So you are trading off to ensure, as far as Nigeria is concerned, and look at the history of Nigeria, political change and everything all put together, the most important variable is the currency.
Yeah.
Right? Everywhere.
That's the biggest pass-through for inflation.
That is it. So
that's what we should be looking at.
So you look at the currency, and then every other thing will take care of itself. Some people say, well, once you take out corruption, the economy will take care of itself.
It's not that easy.
No.
Yeah.
So once the currency is stable, right, and is appreciating,
then we'll start to feel the trickle-down effects.
Every other thing becomes how to manage it. What the fiscal authorities to ensure that all of this money that is being used for palliatives and all that actually gets to the people, and that there is there's a distribution of income, equality and all that. And the other variables, most important thing, the Dangote refinery, we've talked about the exchange rate, the price of fuel, the price of petrol, price of diesel also brings down. So once inflation begins to stabilize and the exchange rate stays in that same safe
range
corridor, then we are good to go.
Fantastic. Right? Really, really great discussion. Lots to ponder about, but at least we seem to be making progress.
Yeah, there is progress.
Which is fantastic.
There is progress.
So thank you for sharing your insights with us, as always, Mr. Bismarck Rewane.